In this episode of the Swearwolves, David and I stand in front of the mirror and discuss 2021's Candyman.
We'll begin with a reign of terror. A few murders here and there.
Welcome back to the Swearwolves. I'm Brett.
I'm David.
David.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that if you say my name 5 times into a mirror,
You'll come?
I'll come all over your face?
Oh, shit. Note to self. All right.
Say Brett's name in mirror.
Emphatically, 5 times. Enunciate.
Did you ever have anything like that when you were growing up? I mean, Candyman wasn't the thing. That wasn't a thing until the movie came out in 1990. But like when I was growing up, I was told to say Bloody Mary.
Oh, yeah. Into a mirror.
Into a mirror, and that she would reach through the mirror and grab you.
Yeah. I heard that one. I didn't believe it.
I did it.
What happened? Did she show up?
She showed
She
up,
choked
she
you
grabbed
out?
me. She killed me. I'm dead.
Like, but then I said Brett 5 times, so joke's on her.
Yep.
Literally.
Obviously, nothing happened.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad. I'm glad it worked out for you.
Bloody Mary was one. There was another one too. It was a guy, but I don't remember what he had to say. I don't remember, but none of that shit ever
But he would
worked.
show up.
It's all a myth. It's all like urban legend,
Folklore.
things like that. There was a movie that came out in 1990 called Candyman that kind of built upon that folklore, that urban legend, but gave it more of a historical context, based on a short story by Clive Barker. Candyman was a movie that introduced us to the world of Candyman. A guy with a hook on his hand, kind of merged a couple of urban legends, right? Remember, like the Hook Man, who was scratching at the car, and then when they got home, the hook was on there.
It was there.
Well, in 2021, we got another movie in the Candyman. I mean, they
Universe.
made sequels, in the Candyman universe, but this was they hadn't made one in a while. So 2021, this is the movie we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about Candyman.
Cool.
We reviewed the original Candyman a while ago. That was a movie that we
liked it.
we liked. Overall, we gave it a 2.83 rating. I think I gave it the
lowest
least rating, the lowest score at 2.5 heads. And I think that primarily was because it was slow.
It is slow. Yeah.
The original Candyman is like slow, and like you got to really want to watch this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing about these movies is they're not like slasher films where you're going to get, a lot of stuff happening in a short amount of time, and it's going to be kind of fun to watch, and you're going to have kills and blood and guts and gore and stuff. It's more psychological.
Yeah, more creepy.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah. I feel that way about Hellraiser also.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah,
Another
I don't find that
Clive
movie
Barker.
particularly scary, but there's a lot of atmosphere.
A lot of atmosphere. I was actually having this conversation with my son the other night. We were talking about the genre. He's like, what genre would you call Candyman? And he actually eventually, I think, looked it up, and it said like psychological horror. But I was like, oh, it kind of falls into the same thing.
Yeah,
as like
supernatural.
Hellraiser does. Supernatural, and that's what it was. Supernatural horror, not psychological. Supernatural. Supernatural horror. And I said it was almost like body horror also.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
Especially this.
That's what I would say, especially this particular version.
Yeah, and Hellraiser, I think, falls into that line too. Not as much as like Videodrome,
Right.
which is kind of
Yeah.
a big time one, or The Fly.
Or The Fly. Yeah.
We are going to be talking about Candyman 2021, and this movie was released on August 27th, 2021. Had you seen it
Yes.
already?
Yeah, so this
You
was
saw
my
it when
this
it
was
came
my
out.
second time seeing it. I didn't see
Okay.
it in theaters, but I did see it like as soon as it became available to
I want to
rent.
say they did like VOD.
Then I did. Yeah, I saw it whenever it went to VOD.
Yeah, I think it happened like pretty quickly because I don't think we were back in theaters August of last year. I mean,
Yeah,
we
now
were.
that you mentioned, I think I did see it pretty much right when it came out. But yeah, I saw it from my
I think they
couch.
did a
I did not see it
simul-release.
in a theater.
Yeah. Well, I had never seen it. So this was a first watch for me. My wife and I watched it together because we had both been meaning to watch it. But I knew we were eventually going to do it for the show. So I was like, meh.
I'll just wait.
I'll wait. What was the number one movie in the theaters, though, August 27th, 2021?
This movie did well, so I'm going to say it was Candyman.
You are correct. It was Candyman.
Nice.
Now can you get the number one song?
No. Is it a song that's come up before?
Yes.
So I do have a guess, so maybe I'll go 2 for 2.
Uh-huh.
I'm going Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo.
No.
Damn it.
It's a song that came up before, actually, in our timeline today.
Oh.
Stay by the Kid Laroi and Justin Bieber.
Okay. Yeah, that came up.
Apparently that song was fucking popular because that had legs, man. It went from August. I don't know. When did the first movie that we came out, talked about was October. So August, September, October.
Was that the There's Something in Your Teeth movie?
Something up your butt.
Something up your butt. There's something in
It
your mouth.
It isn't me. Yeah, so that's Stay song by Justin Bieber and the Kid Laroi. Still haven't heard it, have you? Because you haven't listened to it yet.
I haven't.
God. Well, Candyman was written by, well, who talks like that? Candyman was written by Jordan Peele,
Nice.
Wynn Rosenfeld, and Nia DaCosta. Jordan Peele, one of our favorites. Recently. I don't think it's any spoiler to talk about Nope that we really both liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
I thought it was awesome.
He's 3
too.
for 3.
3 for 3 in my book. Movies that he's directed, with Get Out probably being the best one.
Yeah,
And
I would
then
agree.
Us, and then I wanted to revise my rating of Get Out. By the way,
I'll allow it.
thank you.
What did you give it originally?
Well, I gave it 4.5.
You gonna bump it?
I'm gonna bump it up to 5.
Boom.
I gave it 4.5, and I think I was really nitpicky about a couple of things. Like I was like, why would they have the altar with all the candles and everything? And it was just like out there exposed, like when the doctor's doing his operation at the end. And I was like, that's silly. That was just a way to get the house to burn down. But you know what? Things are silly sometimes in movies, and I got to forgive that. And I've seen that movie a couple of times since we reviewed it because I really love that movie. It's a movie that I own, and I don't own a lot of movies these days. And I love that movie.
Nice.
And I also love Us.
I love Us.
I love You and I.
Yeah, big fan of that movie too.
Yep.
And I read a bunch of stuff when Nope came out, like a lot of mixed kind of reviews, and there was some stuff I read, like people saying like that they hated it, and it was like one of the worst movies they've ever seen. I'm like, what planet are you on? The movie was a blast. I loved it. I saw it at the theater with my wife, and like both of us, when we walked out, like that was great.
I saw it at the theater with my wife and my daughter, my 10-year-old daughter.
Did she like it?
She loved it. I was a little hesitant to take her to it because I was like, I don't even know what this fucking movie is about.
Yeah.
And it's a horror movie. And, I can control the movies when they're at home. I can pause it and whatnot. But I talked to her about it, and she goes, I've seen previews, Dad. I really want to see that. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah. My niece is the same way. My sister took her to see it. My niece is 13. And same deal. They saw it the night before I saw it. And I texted her and was like, hey, what'd you think? She's like, yeah, we both really liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. To be fair, I mean, I saw Close Encounters when I was like 5.
Really little. Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's not the same movie, but it's very like kind of.
It'd be scary for kids. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Anyway, we're off. We're done flogging Jordan Peele's log at this point.
Till next time, Mr. Peele.
Based on Candyman by Bernard Rose, the original movie, and then also the short story, as I mentioned before, by Clive Barker. This movie was directed by Nia DaCosta, with music by Robert Akey Aubrey Lowe. It stars. I'm gonna ruin these people's names, and I apologize. I'm really bad.
I got the first one. His name is Yahya.
Okay, Yahya Abdul Mateen II.
Yep.
He plays Anthony. I can pronounce that one.
There you go.
Coleman Domingo plays Billy Burke. Rodney L. Jones III as young Billy. Tayana Paris as Bree Cartwright, Anthony's girlfriend. And Hannah Love Jones as young Brianna. And then there's other people too. We do get appearances, and this is kind of a spoiler, but we do get appearances by Virginia Madsen and Tony Todd.
Do we see Virginia Madsen?
We don't see her, we hear her.
Yeah, we get her voice.
The only reason why I say that it's kind of a spoiler is because I didn't know going into this movie that it was a sequel.
Ah, okay. You thought it was a remake?
I thought it was a remake, but it's what does Scream 5 say? A requel?
Requel. Yeah.
I think this is a good example.
Sequel?
I think this is a good example of rebooting the franchise and making a sequel.
Agreed.
Runtime of this movie is 91 minutes with a budget of $25 million. What do you think the box office was?
I'm going to go 75.
77.4.
Close.
Good job. Good job.
Thanks, man.
Speaking of 77, the movie opens up. It's 1977.
Oh, my God.
Chicago. Cabrini
That's
Green,
creepy.
to be specific. Yeah, Chicago in 1977 probably was creepy. Cabrini Green housing project. We are familiar with this from the first Candyman movie, and in this movie, we see it in 1977, and then again in 2021 or 2020, whatever year it was, 2019, I guess.
2019
is when it's based. We see this young kid, and this is young Billy. And he is walking around. He's walking to put laundry.
Yeah, he leaves a laundromat and he's like going to an apartment building.
Yeah, or he's going to the laundromat.
Yeah,
from his
like
apartment
that.
building.
Yeah,
because his mom. He's doing a puppet show in his room, but then he's taking his laundry down to the laundromat for his mom, and the cops are everywhere. They're looking for some guy.
Yeah, and they even show him a flyer like, hey, you seen this guy? And he's like, no, keeps walking.
Yeah. Before we go any further, I do want to say this. You and I, we're not the right people to discuss some of the aspects of this movie.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is not that we don't have opinions or whatever, but this movie, not that it's not for us, but this movie, we are not African American people.
Right.
We have not.
We haven't. Our life experience is different.
Our life experience is different. This movie is made for us to enjoy, but not made for us as far as like the meaning behind it.
No.
So
and it's made for us to think.
It is, and I think that, especially when this movie came out, it was in the wake of the George Floyd incident,
right?
Murder. I don't even want to say incident. The George Floyd murder and the Breonna Taylor, the Ahmaud Arbery, all this shit that happened.
A lot of awful stuff all happening.
And which has continued to happen since before we were born, but happened, kind of culminated into what happened in the summer of 2019.
Yeah.
And the Black Lives Matter protests that were happening and the marches that were happening. And this movie is in a way a response to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taking this horror story of Candyman, but making it more of a...
It's more about suffering.
A reflection of this, how African Americans have been treated over
generations,
250 years.
Right.
So, that being said, I don't want to dwell too much, to have two white guys talk about, oh, this means this for black people and this means that. We're not the right people.
Right. I'm not. Yeah, exactly.
It's been discussed, and there's plenty of people that have plenty of African American reviewers that can talk about that, and you can read or listen to their podcasts. And I would highly recommend you to do that if you're so inclined. We're going to talk about the entertainment value of this movie.
Yeah.
But I don't want to gloss over that stuff because I think it's important.
It's very important. Yeah, definitely.
But I just don't think that we necessarily are the right people to discuss that.
No, there's going to be dick jokes probably still.
I just don't want people to be like, oh, well, they didn't get it because no, we totally do get it. I don't want to insult African Americans by explaining it to them. Like, they don't need me to explain it to them.
You and me, same page.
Okay, good.
Agreed.
So, white cop talking to a black kid. The black kid's basically like, fuck you, I haven't seen Candyman. Get the fuck out of here. He goes in to do his laundry, and when he comes out, there's a big hole in the wall.
A big hole in the middle of the wall. And he's kind of like, what the fuck?
And a piece of candy comes flying out, like a Jolly Rancher.
Like at his feet. And he's like,
I was like, if that's a grape Jolly Rancher, I will take that, because grape Jolly Ranchers are the best.
Your favorite?
Grape and watermelon.
I say, I'm watermelon and cherry.
Cherry's good.
Those mounts, they're all good.
They're all
can't go wrong.
They're all good. I remember when I was a kid, green apple was the flavor of Jolly Rancher.
I forgot about green apple. That was probably my favorite as a kid too. As an adult, it's not, but I still really like it.
But the Jolly Ranchers that I got as a kid were the sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the
those?
long, flat ones?
Yeah, and you have to peel it.
Yeah, you'd peel it down and you would suck it into like a shiv, and you'd go.
Yeah, and shank somebody with it.
Yeah,
turn it into a prison shank.
Yeah, when I was at camp for a week, I used to fucking
shank a guy for squealing in the showers, out in the yard,
in the lunch line. I just cut in front of him.
Teach him a lesson.
Yep, right in his throat.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great camp. It was church camp. Anyway, throws him a piece of candy, and all of a sudden, fucking this guy looks like what we know Candyman to be like. It's not Tony Todd, but he's got the trench coat and he's got a hook for a hand.
Yeah,
he comes out of the wall.
He comes out of the wall,
and the kid screams, and the cops go running in there. Now it cuts this flashback kind of thing. It cuts right there. We'll see more of that in a little bit, but
we'll find out what happened.
Yep, it cuts right there. We're now in 2019. And we are introduced to an artist by the name of Anthony McCoy. And he lives with his girlfriend, Brianna Cartwright. And they live in what used to be the projects, but it's now been gentrified.
Gentrified, exactly.
And, they live there, but it's a nice building.
It's very nice, like a real nice apartment.
Yes. And we get introduced to her brother and her brother's boyfriend, by the way, her brother, one of my favorite characters in the movie.
Yeah, he's awesome.
It's hilarious. But her brother and her brother's boyfriend come over, and they kind of establish the whole, this used to be the projects, and this is where we learn about the apartment complex and everything, and we also learn about Candyman.
Yep. Yeah, Troy, that's the brother. He tells the story.
Yeah, he's like, you guys want to hear a scary story? And he tells the scary story.
And I love, and they do it a few times through the movie, like the use of puppets and like shadows to tell the story.
Puppets, yep.
Yeah, really cool.
I think that's one of the elements of this movie that I thought was so unique and so well done.
Right. Yeah, it looks amazing.
It looks amazing, and it's just so done in such a way that I was like, this is the way to do something like this. Like, this is the way to do it. Like, there was no other way than to have those puppets tell the story. Because we've established that Billy was the puppeteer at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get these puppet kind of themes throughout the whole thing. And then, skipping ahead, what we know about Billy.
Right.
It's like, oh, it all makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it was a great choice. But yes, they're great to look at. Anyway, Troy tells them the story, and he tells them about how Helen. Now, this is when we learn that this is a sequel, because I was like, oh fuck, he's talking about Virginia Madsen.
Yeah.
He learns that Helen kidnapped a baby and went on a killing spree before jumping into the bonfire.
Yeah, and burning herself.
And what I thought was so interesting was that's the story that everybody would think happened. Right. We, as the audience of the first one, we know what happened.
We know that's not what happened. Yeah.
We know that the Candyman was real, but they think it was just some crazy white broad who went into their town and kidnapped a baby, because that's what happened. kind of,
and tried to kill it.
And tried to kill the baby, and then when she got caught, she killed herself.
Right.
That's what they would think happened. Not that it was fucking Tony Todd, Candyman, fucking whatever. Anthony's been kind of like having...
Anthony's
writer's
fascinated.
block. Yeah, he's kind of been having the equivalent of writer's block for an artist. His girlfriend, Brianna, is very successful, or starting to become very successful, and she's like supporting them.
Right.
He is kind of like, you know,
he's struggling.
Yeah. And he's like, and even the brother goes, don't make her support your ass. Like, get out there and sell some of your art, or get a job or something.
Figure it out. So, and he shows his art to like a gallery owner. He has an appointment or whatever. And even that guy's not impressed. He's like, this is just the same stuff that you've been doing. Like, I'm not seeing anything new. I don't see inspiration here.
Yep. So to get inspiration, he decides he's going to go to Cabrini Green after hearing about that legend. And he's going to take pictures of it, try to get inspired by the story.
And while he's taking the photos, a bee lands on his hand and stings him. Yep. And he's like, fuck.
Gives him a little welt.
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time you got stung by a bee?
I was probably a kid. It's been a long time.
Out in Arizona.
The last time I got stung by a bee, there was a bee in my pool, and I scooped it out, and the little bastard stung me.
Yeah, I was going to say, in Arizona, we would get bees by the pool all the time.
Yeah.
And a bee was going after my sister-in-law, and it was like right on her or something, and I go, don't move, and I grabbed it. And as I grabbed it, I saved her fucking life. No, she's not allergic to bees. Well, I don't know. She could be. Let's just say she's allergic to bees. I saved her life, but I grabbed it and it got me in the palm of my hand. Little fucker.
Oh, it sucks.
It does suck.
But yeah, he jumps over a fence and he's kind of just walking Cabrini Green, which is now abandoned basically. Like most of the houses are empty.
The apartment complexes are just
boarded up,
run down, boarded up. He runs into William Burke, who owns a laundromat. Now this was Billy, from
all grown up. Now he owns the place.
Now he runs his own laundromat, and he tells him more of the story of Candyman, and tells him that he was basically tells us, the audience, that he was the young boy from the beginning, and kind of fills in the gaps about what happened or after.
Right. After he screamed.
After he screamed, the cops
come running and they tell him, get out of here, like get out of the way. And then they go around the corner.
And they see Candyman.
They see the Candyman, who I think his name was Charlie Fields.
And they beat the shit out of him.
Yep.
Bash his
off
brains
camera,
in.
but you can hear the beating happen.
And they bash his brains in. And
and they had suspected that he had been putting razor blades in kids' candy, like Halloween candy. So that's why he was the face on the flyer. That's the guy that they were looking for.
And what Billy tells us is that after they killed him, 3 more kids got...
Yeah, just in a matter of weeks, more people started getting razor blades. So it's like he wasn't the guy.
No, he was just a nice guy who was
giving candy to kids,
homeless or whatever, and just gave candy to kids because he was being nice.
Yep.
But because he was a black guy...
Yeah, he wasn't seen that way, and they killed him.
Nope. They needed a scapegoat, basically.
Yep.
Anthony's inspired by this, and he goes home and he does some painting, and he makes an art piece
depicting the beating.
Yeah, from the Candyman legend, and it's called Say My Name.
Mm-hmm.
Pause real quick on that because I want to talk about when we were talking about the George Floyd stuff and the Breonna Taylor. I believe during that whole Black Lives Matter stuff, it was like say their name,
say his name, say their name, say her name. Yep.
And that was very important. So this is like putting it on Front Street. It's kind of like say my name, you know, referencing Candyman, but also bringing that back in that whole BLM movement stuff, which I thought was a I don't want to say good, but for lack of a better word, I thought it was good that they did that.
Mm-hmm.
It's shitty that it had to happen, but
no,
whatever.
but it made it timely.
Yes, it did.
And he tells, he's talking to Brianna, and he tells her about the painting, and then he also tells her a little bit about the conversation that he had with the laundromat guy. Mm-hmm. And this is where he tells her about if you say his name 5 times, apparently in front of a mirror, he'll appear.
Yeah.
And he's like, do it. Why don't you do it? And she's like, I ain't doing that shit.
And I think he looks into the reflection of the window.
And he's like, Candyman. He's like, stop. He's like, Candyman.
He does say it 5 times, though.
He does.
And nothing happens.
No.
Kind of.
Not yet.
The audience, we see the reflection of Candyman in the background.
Yeah, like, oh, fuck. Yeah, but he doesn't kill anybody.
But at the art exhibit, we see Anthony's piece, and it's this mirror, and then, like, if you open it up, you see shit behind it.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
I thought it was cool, too. But
and a lot of people were not impressed.
Were like, what is this?
Yeah, the critic's like, ooh. The owner's like, oh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ignored by the public and disparaged by the art critic. And I think the reasoning behind it is like, we've seen this before. Black people's plight on society. We need a new take. And it's like, well, fuck you.
Fuck you. Yeah.
Like, that's what I feel. Like, that's what needs to be said.
Right.
And I think that's so fucking great, because if there's one thing that I've heard about this movie from certain people who've critiqued this movie, is they're like, oh, it's a story. Don't jam racism down our throat. And it's like, motherfucker, that's exactly what they're talking about in the fucking movie.
Yeah. Or the people are like, oh, this movie's just about why we should all hate white people. That's the message. It's like, if that's what you got from this movie, then you're a fucking idiot.
You're an idiot.
That is not what this movie's about at all.
And the movie is so self-referential because it knows. You don't think that the writers of this movie are smart enough to know that, oh, people are going to look at this movie and think that it's just about racism and about black people and white people being bad and all this other kind of stuff. And so we're going to throw that in here as a critic looking at a piece done by an artist who wants to talk about a message, because I guarantee
and then being dismissed.
I guarantee you Jordan Peele got that shit from people when he did Get Out, and still gets that shit. And when he's doing Us, and when he's doing Nope, because those have subtle messages in there, built in there regarding racism. But guess what? Jordan Peele is a black man. Nia DaCosta directed this movie and helped write this movie. They're talking about their experiences. The character of Anthony, to bring this back to the movie, and I know we said we weren't going to talk about this kind of heavy stuff, but you can't help but do it. But the character of Anthony in this movie is painting his experiences and his feelings and everything, and he's getting looked over by the public because they're bored with it.
Yeah.
And the critics are bored with it. That's fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't have to keep going off about that, but it's just fucked up.
Yeah, they're kind of like the mindset of like, move on.
We need something new. We need a new, fresh take on something. It's like, fuck off.
And it really upsets him. So he proceeds. Yeah. So he proceeds to get drunk at the gallery, and then as he's kind of staggering out, has some words for another artist that kind of is critical of him, as well as the owner of the gallery. Yeah. And he just kind of staggers out of the place.
And I like what he said to the owner of the gallery. He's like, something about being able to buy morning after pills for his
your interns.
For summer intern.
And one of his interns is sitting right there, and she's like, you know I'm on the pill, right? Or something like that.
No, she goes, I have the Nuva ring.
Yeah.
which is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, so he's totally banging her.
They leave. And his girlfriend is obviously pissed off at him because she got him that gig, and she pulled
she did him a favor. She pulled strings.
Mm-hmm. But whatever. He's sleeping it off. Meanwhile, Clive, who is the gallery owner, and his intern, I don't remember her name, but they start fucking. And she has him like clipped. I don't know. They're doing some kind of S&M bondage fucking
she like clipped herself to his belt loop or something like that.
Yeah. And she's like turned around, and he's like getting her from behind, I guess. I don't know. They haven't really quite fucked, but she's like looking in that mirror, and she says Candyman 5 times.
Yep.
Well,
Big mistake.
big mistake, because now Candyman does come out and he does kill.
And when he does come out, I like that we only see him in reflection.
Yes. Me too.
That was a cool choice.
And we don't even really see him right away. We just hear a shing.
Yeah,
and
we see that her throat gets slashed and blood squirts everywhere. And the Clive guy, he's like, "Is this part of the exhibit? Like, what's going on?"
Yeah,
he
he's
doesn't
like,
know what to make of it.
This isn't real. This isn't real.
He can't see anything.
Yeah, he's such a fucking weirdo.
But then he gets strangled, so he's dead.
Yep. They get found the next morning by Brianna, who opens up the gallery and she sees it, and the cops come and everything, and Anthony gets mentioned on.
Yeah, because Anthony's watching the news and hears about it, and at first he's like, "Oh my god!" And then they say it was in front of one of his pieces, and then he gets
Say
excited.
My Name. Yeah, and he's like, it's his piece called Say My Name. Well, yeah, because if there's one thing that we know, any press is good press.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, they said my name on TV."
Exactly. So by having that happen, now all of a sudden he is in the limelight, and he's
getting
wanted by
recognition.
people. He's wanted by people. Another gallery, later on this happens, but we can discuss it right now. Another gallery targets Brianna to have her come work for them because they know that she's the girlfriend of the artist who was mentioned in association with these killings.
Yeah, and you're like,
because
you
it'll
obviously
bring
have an
people
eye
in.
for talent. Come work for us.
Exactly. Anthony is becoming more obsessed with the Candyman, and we learn a little bit about Brianna. Brianna has some issues of her own from her past. She basically witnessed her father kill himself. Well, she did.
He jumped out a window right in front of her. He's like,
Yeah,
"Hey, did you know your daddy can fly?" or something like that.
He couldn't.
No, he landed real hard and died from it.
Yeah, he was an artist himself, and he was very obsessive, and he just went crazy, which I would like to see the story behind that. Like, what drove him crazy? There's a story there somewhere. But that because of Anthony's obsession and his constant painting of Candyman and just all this shit that's happening, she's reminded of that, and it scares her.
Yeah, and it bothers her, and she wants it to stop. But Anthony, he's doing even more research now, so he goes to the library, and he gets tapes. So this is where we hear Virginia Madsen's voice and her side of things. Which, can you get that kind of stuff at the library? I don't know. Anyway, like at first I was like, that's weird, but I was like, I'm going to suspend my disbelief on that.
Again, you suspend your disbelief. They had to find a way to...
It advances the plot, so it works.
It does. Yeah, so he hears about her Candyman research. After he listens to Helen's, tapes that give us a little bit more insight, or we, the audience, know a lot of this stuff, but he's discovering the events from the first movie. He ends up figuring some stuff out. He sees the Candyman.
Yeah, he gets in an elevator and like a piece of candy drops from the ceiling, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And he picks the candy up, and then like the elevator is all mirrored, like all around him, and then he sees the reflection of the Candyman in the elevator and just immediately starts freaking out. And then of course, ding, the elevator doors open, and then more like kids. A group of like young kids basically are getting in. They're kind of like, what's going on, buddy? You all right?
We should say also that he's not all right because
his hand.
His hand is like...
That shit's getting infected, man. You got to get that looked at. Get some...
Neosporin on that or something.
Put something on it. Yeah.
Hydrogen peroxide. I don't know. It doesn't sting. It just bubbles. But he gets called by the art critic who was like, I'm so bored with this. But again, he's a wanted man now in the art world. So she calls him, and she summons Candyman.
Yeah, and I like how this plays out too, because they're talking, and he kind of tells her off. Yeah. Like, you wanted nothing to do with me, like, and now you're kissing my ass, basically. Yep. And he tells her the story, and he tries to get her to do it. And she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And she's like, I got to go take a shit. Yeah. No, I think she's like, I got to go to the bathroom or something like that. So then she goes into the bathroom. We don't actually see her summon the Candyman, which I really like, but she obviously does. And then because she's not long for this world.
Yep. And then he looks in the mirror and he sees Candyman's reflection, but it's him.
Yeah.
And
it's
every
like,
time he moves,
it's not his face, but yeah, it's moving. It's like a mirror image.
Yep. He's the Candyman. Anthony goes back to Billy Burke and he wants more answers and stuff. And he learns that the Candyman legend started in the 1890s. And that was the whole,
This is where we get the Tony Todd origin story.
Stuff. Yep.
Yep.
And we already know this stuff if you've seen the original Candyman. And he was mutilated for having an interracial affair, got his hand chopped off,
Got smeared with honey, and a bunch of bees stung him.
Yeah.
And he goes home and he tells Brianna the story, and she doesn't believe him.
I did want to say this, though, but since then, the legend is renewed each generation with different murdered black men.
Yeah, and the idea is that Candyman is basically the manifestation of black suffering or pain.
Mm-hmm.
And it can essentially be passed on.
Yep. So the legend continues spreading about the Candyman myth of saying it in the mirror. Mm-hmm. And we see these group of high school girls. And one of them was at the show, I think.
Yes. Yeah, because I think she took a flyer, or maybe she took a picture of the exhibit or something like that.
Something like that. And she goes back to the high school. She goes, "You guys hear the story about Candyman?"
You know about the Candyman? You're looking for the Candyman, bitch.
Let's do it, bitches. They look into the mirrors in the bathroom. And I like this part, too, because a girl comes in.
Yeah, she goes into one of the stalls.
She's getting bullied or something. She's not doing well, and she just goes right into a stall, and she just kind of sits
down.
She's waiting for everybody to leave so she can have some alone time. And
they're kind of harassing her, like banging on the door, like, "Hey!"
Yeah, they're like, "What are you doing in there? Taking a shit?" But they say Candyman 5 times, and then they go to leave, and they can't get out.
Yeah, the door's locked. I'm like, "What the fuck?
They're like,
we're locked in
here.
here."
Bitch, you locked the door. Well, one of the girls is like, "Oh, I forgot my vape." And she goes back.
Let me go back.
And she gets killed off screen.
Yeah.
All of them get killed off screen, which is also another good choice.
Yeah, because we just see kind of the aftermath. We see blood on the ground, but
I'm one that's all for gore when there's not substance.
Right.
If there's little substance in a movie, replace that with gore, and I'm all for it. When there's substance in a movie, I don't care about the gore. Exactly. I just know that they were got killed. So
and that was a really cool scene in the bathroom with them all.
It was
getting killed because we don't see the Candyman. We just see like people getting
girls get
pulled
dragged around.
Yeah, getting dragged around and stuff. Very cool.
And then the girl who was in the stall who didn't summon Candyman, she stays alive.
Right.
Which is good because, she was not a bad person. Yeah, Anthony is turning like his hand is all fucked up.
His whole arm, it's starting to take over
up.
like even his face and his chest. He's starting to look pretty messed up.
Yeah, to his neck and stuff. So he goes to the hospital and he's like, "I need to get this looked at." And they're like,
yeah, and the doctor's like, "Hey, welcome back." And he's like,
"Yeah." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Well, good thing you came in when you did, because otherwise you'd have to have it amputated or whatever the fuck. And you were born in this hospital." And he's like, "No, I wasn't. I was born
other side of town."
Yeah, somewhere else. And she's like,
whoopsie.
So he goes to see his mom, who he hasn't had a relationship with in a while. And he's like, "Why didn't you tell me where I was born?" And she's like, "Well, let me tell you."
Well, shit. Let me tell you something, kid.
Remember
that baby?
When the
Do you
Virginia
remember
Madsen
a lady
stole a
kidnapping
baby?
You? That baby was named you.
So he's like, "Fuck, I was that baby." And I don't know. Like, I'm
basically a part of this mythology now.
It's gonna go with me now, and I'm the fate.
He kind of accepts. He doesn't say anything, but I think it's obvious. Like, he's kind of accepted what's going to happen. Like, he already knows.
Yeah, and so he goes wandering through Cabrini Green, and Brianna goes looking for him, and she goes down to Billy Burke's laundromat, and she gets kidnapped.
Yeah, he grabs her. And he takes her to an abandoned church where Anthony already is. And he says, like, "We need Candyman." So, this is awful. So Burke saws off Anthony's hand.
Yeah, and Anthony just takes
off
it 'cause
camera
he's like-
again, but like you see the saw blade moving, and he's just got kind of like a single tear like rolling down his cheek.
Yeah, he's like
yeah, he's
dazed.
he's out of it. He's like on another planet.
Yeah, he's comatose. He's gone.
Yeah. Oh, and then he shoves a hook in there. It's like, I get your hook hand now. And then
Yeah.
Burke, his plan is to, because I think he calls the cops, right?
Yeah.
His plan is to have Anthony killed by the police.
Yep.
To have like the cops show up and, assume the worst and kill him. So that
And
way
what that will do-
Candyman's spirit can essentially move into him.
And revive the myth of the Candyman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he's doing. But Brianna escapes.
She gets the upper hand. She stabs Burke a lot. Fucking kills him.
Yep. She goes out, and the cops are there. And, let's just say the cops are a bunch of assholes.
They burst right in, and we hear tons of gunshots. Like, they shoot him a lot.
And they also arrest Brianna.
I also like is the wrong word, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah. How fast all of this happens. From like when he becomes Candyman and Burke tells her what's going to happen, it happens within seconds. Like exactly what Burke said would go down, went down perfectly. But like,
yeah,
exactly according to how
planned.
just like how he knew it would happen.
Yeah, and again, going back to the whole thing of the puppets, is he's the puppeteer.
Right, he's the puppet master.
So he controls all these puppets when he's telling these stories. He's controlling Anthony.
Yeah, he's
telling the story. It's
exactly
all part of the plan.
Yep.
I will say this: if you have that, what is that phobia that I kind of have? That tryptophobia, where you don't like holes.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony gets these holes in the side of his face, which gave me
is that bugging you,
dude? Oh yeah,
I
watched
crawl?
it. Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. But
that's funny. But Brianna, you're right. She gets apprehended by the cops, and they put her in the car, and the cops.
Another thing that happens that's cool in this movie too is when the cops come and she's holding Anthony right before they shoot her. Like in a normal movie, or shoot him, excuse me, right. In a normal movie, she'd be like, wait, everything's fine. And they'd all go, oh, and they'd put their guns down, right? But that's not real life.
Yeah.
So she says, wait. And they all go, pop, pop, pop,
bang,
pop,
bang,
pop.
bang, bang, bang.
Yep. And they shoot the shit out of him. But anyway, then they arrest her. She's in the back of the squad car.
Yeah, and that cop, he's like, hey, so it's a shame about what happened to your boyfriend. I just wish he hadn't. I can't remember exactly what he says, but like he lunged at them, or like he starts to make up a story, and you can tell he's like leading her of like, this is the story. This is what we're going to tell people. This is what you're going to say. And she's like, no.
And he goes, well, if that's not what you're going to say, then you're the one who was assisting him with all these murders.
Yeah. He's like, well, if you don't think that, there's a couple things that could happen, or you could be an accomplice to all this, and you did. And he starts like telling her stuff that never happened. Basically saying like, you're going to go with the story or you're fucked.
Yep. And she's like, well, I will tell you whatever you want me to tell you. Just can I look at myself in the mirror?
When I say it. Yeah. And the cop's like, what? Sure. And he tilts the rear view mirror down so she can see herself.
And she says Candyman 5 times.
And the cop's like, what the fuck are you doing? What's Candyman?
Candyman comes.
Yeah, you're going to find out, bitch.
And now it's Anthony. Anthony's Candyman. And he kills everybody. He kills all the police.
And this is where we see Tony Todd's face.
Yep. Tony Todd's face. It kind of, a bunch of bees cover Candyman. And when they open up, it turns into Tony Todd.
Yep.
And Candyman legend is now fully resurrected. And he tells Brianna to go tell everyone what.
Yeah, and say Tony Todd speaks and says, yeah, tell everyone.
Yep. And that's pretty much it. The end credits show the shadow puppets again, showing the different Candymans over time.
Yep, that's it.
Kind of getting to be Candyman. So, yeah, this movie is a heavy movie. If you really look, I mean, we just
if you look below the surface.
Yeah, and we just scratched the surface with all this, but. Much like the other Jordan Peele movies, you can spend hours talking about this, and we don't have hours, or we don't want to bore people with our opinions. But I gave the original Candyman. I forget, what did I say?
I think you gave it a 2.
Candyman 2.5.
Oh, you gave it 2.5. Okay, what did I give it? I gave it 3.
3.
Okay.
So, and then Alan gave it a 3 also. So that's why it was 2.83. The original Candyman, I found, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, to be a little long and drawn out. I did not feel that way about this movie at all. I felt that this movie went at a clip. I felt that there was, to your point at the end there, when he becomes Candyman, like shit happens. Like
real fast.
When it goes, it goes. There was setup, but it was entertaining setup. And I found this happened to me as well. I had to like get up to go to the bathroom and go get something to drink or whatever, and I didn't pause it because my wife and I were watching it together. So it's like, oh, just tell me what happens when I come back. And I found myself, I was like, shit, I missed something. So I had to rewind it because there's a lot of stuff that if you're not paying attention, it's a movie that you have to pay attention to get everything that happens and to understand fully that everything happens. There's some movies that I could leave for probably 15 fucking minutes and come back. And
come back and like, what's happened? Nothing.
Nothing happened.
You didn't miss a damn thing.
Yeah. So with that being said, I loved this movie. I like this movie way better than the first movie. I thought visually it was great. The direction from
Nia
DaCosta was wonderful. The writing from her and Jordan Peele and Wynn Rosenfeld was awesome. I thought they took a story that had sequels in the past, but they took it and made it relevant, timely, and entertaining. And to make something relevant and have a message, yet also entertaining, like if you don't want this fucking message, then you don't need to see it. I mean, like, you can watch this movie on a different headspace. There's probably people who watch this movie and they're like, oh yeah, Candyman. They don't fucking get it. And that's fine. Right. If that's the way you want to watch it.
Yeah, you're right. It works on a couple different levels.
It works on a couple different levels. And I think to do that balancing act, I think is really good. I don't know why there's a hate for this movie or why there was hate for this movie. Obviously, it didn't show in the box office because it did make $77 million in the box office.
Yeah.
People are just ignorant, I guess. But it's 91 minutes. It's only an hour and a half.
Yeah,
that's
short.
Also a good thing. You know? So all too often do we get these fucking movies that are over 2 hours and it's like, oh.
It doesn't outwear its welcome. Like, I actually wanted more. I could have stood for this movie to be 30 minutes longer.
Yeah. So on that point, outweighing outwear its welcome, I'm going to just get to the point. I gave it 4 Pamela Voorhees Heads.
Nice. We're close. I gave this one a 3.5. I also like this better than the original. I think it's really, like we said, it's entertaining. It's timely. It makes you think if you want to think.
Yep.
And if you don't want to think, you don't have to think. I thought it was well acted.
Yes.
Some of the characters I thought were a little thin and a little bit just kind of hollow kind of characters. But that's kind of a minor nitpick. I think our main characters do a really good job. I liked the bonus of having the Tony Todd thing at the end was kind of a nice little touch. Yeah. I liked how they brought Virginia Madsen back, but like in voiceover form. I thought that was cool. I love the look and the puppets. The movie looks great. Like the direction's fantastic.
Yes.
I just think it's a really good movie. So yeah, 3.5 for me.
So 3.75 overall.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. One of the higher rated movies we've done in a while. So highly recommend you see that. I saw it on Peacock? Paramount?
I saw it on Prime, I think.
Maybe I saw it on... Oh, I did see it on Prime. You're right.
Yeah, I think it's free on Prime.
It's free on Prime. That's what I saw it on as well. So you can watch it on Prime right now or Epix if you have a subscription to Epix. Oh, cool. I think it's on that. So... If you have any thoughts on Candyman, the 2021 Candyman, well, this is the thing that bothers me about these movies. Like Halloween 2018 is a sequel to Halloween 1, but they're both called Halloween.
Just give it another name.
Call it something. Scream 5 is called Scream.
Yeah, just call it Scream 5.
It just pisses me off.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's just call it Candyman.
Because now when you're like, oh, I really like Halloween, you're like, oh, which one? Or I like Candyman. Which one are you talking about?
Candyman 2021, and people will say it's Jordan Peele's Candyman. It's not.
No,
he
it's
helped write it. He produced it. But realistically, let's give Nia DaCosta the credit for this.
Right.
And I think she deserves a lot of that credit. So if you have any thoughts on Candyman or anything for that matter, you can contact us. How can they contact us, David?
On Twitter, Facebook, the Slasher app, TikTok, YouTube, just search the Swearwolves. On Instagram, search the Swearwolves podcast. You can go to our website, theswearwolves.com, and contact us there. You can email us at contact@theswearwolves.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 623-282-1851.
So for the Swearwolves this week, I'm Bret.
I'm David.
Candyman.
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 Candyman.